Martin Bregman, a 50-year-plus judo coach, competitor, and Olympic referee. Okay. Martin is also the head coach of the Tulsa Judo Club in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So, when did you start playing judo?
I started playing judo when I was 17 years old in Brooklyn, New York at the Flatbush Boys Club.
What rank are you now?
I'm a 7th degree black belt, the Shichidan.
So, how would you describe your club?
Times have changed for judo in general, and it's harder to have that many people. But for example, tonight there's the senior class, and we do have a couple of teenagers in there because they're too big for the juniors. But we've got, I don't know, 25 people on the mat, and that's about what we'd see for the senior, if everybody in the senior class comes in. We're missing a couple of people tonight. The junior class is fewer kids. A number of them have moved into the senior class, and we don't do any advertising. We're a non-profit club, so everything is word of mouth, how people learn about this club. Our players get their friends to come out, etc.
What's your favorite part of being a coach?
My favorite part is seeing people who, like my coach once said to me, I was his greatest accomplishment. I said, how can you say that? You've had Olympians. And he said, well, I took a guy with no athletic ability and made him a national champion. I said, wait a minute, I was a swimmer, a baseball player. He said, I mean for judo, you know. The most fun part is seeing somebody who doesn't have any judo knowledge. You work with him a little bit, he goes to a tournament, he does what, or she does what you tell him, and they win a gold medal. That's a big high. I mean, I've got one guy here who came in, he was a white belt in judo, he's been with me 2 years, he's now a 2nd degree black belt. He won 2 Batsuguns in his promotion career, and he was promoted to Shodan a month later. He won a Batsugun up in Kansas. He beat 7 people his rank or higher, so we had to promote him again to Nidan in a month. You know, I think it's teaching people to do things and then watching them develop and develop the confidence to do these things.
What's your biggest challenge as a coach?
Getting people to believe in the technique. Okay, I think that's the biggest challenge. Teaching the technique, the correct technique for that body style, and then having the people believe that's going to win for them. Yeah,
Man, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. It is true. So what's your favorite technique then?
My favorite technique, the one I've been using since 1996, is Sotomaki Kono.
Do you think we could see it later?
Yeah, sure. I pull left-handed. I'm a righty man, but I throw right. The reason I step out left foot first when I grab left is to make my opponent think I'm a lefty. So he sets up a defense against the lefty and then I throw him right. Okay? All I need to do is see 2 inches of space here. If I see 2 inches, I'm coming. Okay? And the way I do this is I come right in, lock him up, and all the way to the bottom. But I try and land not on him. I try and land just off to the side. So again, when I throw it in context, it looks like, and I finish looking at the ceiling. So my head had to turn around all the way. I've got him tight to me. And this is always a full point. If you're a player, assume you're going to go to the ground with whatever throw you have. You have to know what hold down you're going to have at the end. If you think, oh, you'll make it up as you go along, you're not going to make it.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
In your opinion, what's most important to building a club?
I think dedication is the most important thing. It also helps if you're technically sound. I learned all my judo after I'd been in judo 6 years. I went to Carl Geis School of Judo in Houston, and I was trained by Carl Geis up until the time he died. Well, you got to give it your time. If you're the coach, you've got to be there. You can't say that the club is going to be open at 6 and then don't show up till 6:30. You got to understand that when the club first starts out, if you're thinking it's going to be a money-making proposition, probably you need to go into a different sport.
So what advice would you give a new coach then?
I'd tell them that don't go into it with the attitude that you're going to walk around saying, well, you can beat up everybody that comes into the class. Because eventually, if you have students that are athletically in good shape and you teach them well, they should be able to catch you when you're on the mat, okay? If you're doing your job, they should be able to throw you eventually, okay? You shouldn't get all upset if they do that. But you've got to give them your time. You've got to be very clear, and you have to have patience, especially with kids. With little kids, you have about 15 minutes of instruction time, and then they're going into la-la land, okay? With 10 through 12-year-olds, you got a little bit more time. Once they get into the teenage brackets, they've got other things pulling at them. You know, boys have girls, girls have boys outside the club, things like that. But if you get somebody that's committed by the time he's 12 years old, and the bug bites him, bit me at 17, you know, but if the bug bites him, you can have somebody for a long time, make black belt, etc.
So, what is Jita Kioi?
Well, Jita Kioi and Seryoku Zenyo are the two basic principles of judo. And in English, they roughly translate to maximum efficiency with mutual benefit and welfare. Maximum efficiency is pretty clear. What you want to do is be the best thrower or best holder or best choker or best armbar person you can be. Whatever technique you're doing, you want to be as good as possible. That's what maximum efficiency means. Not a lot of wasted motion. And mutual benefit and welfare, both participants should get something out of it. If it's in training, when you train with a partner, and this is a sport where you can almost not do it by yourself. There are some things you can do. You can do some exercises by yourself. We used to wrap a belt around the tree and do fit-ins against that. But generally, you need another partner to be able to do everything. To take a test for promotion, you need a partner, etc. So you have to make sure that your partner gets something out of it.
All right, so judo means gentle way.
Mm-hmm.
So how's it gentle?
Judo was invented by Jigoro Kano, and it was formalized in 1882. And he was a 9th degree jiu-jitsu black belt. And he also had the equivalent of a PhD in physical education. And he thought that if he took the non-killing, non-maiming techniques out of Japanese jiu-jitsu, that he could make a sport out of it. So the goal was always for it to be a sport that people could participate in and not get hurt. And even though it's a tough sport, you slam people down on the ground, you choke them, you put arm bars on them, you're not really trying to hurt them or injure them. And that's why it's called judo, the way of gentleness. It's not very gentle, it just doesn't necessarily kill or maim you. You can adjust things to be able to maim people if you're out on the street and get attacked, but basically you're not trying to kill or maim your opponents or your partners. Okay? And that's why it's called the way of gentleness. Compared to jiu-jitsu, it's Japanese jiu-jitsu, it is a lot gentler.
So in recent years, the rules of judo have been changed. Would you agree with them or disagree?
Well, some of the rules that have changed were probably necessary. I think the head diving rule is important, you know, etc. I think the majority of the rules, though, I would have to say I disagree with. Not that I don't call them. I do call them the way they're supposed to be called, and I interpret things the way the IGF tells me to interpret them. But I think, and this is my own opinion, that a lot of the rules that we saw changed, like all the rules not allowing techniques below the belt, for example, was because the Olympic Committee was talking about throwing wrestling out of the Olympics not too many years ago. And I think judo was a little bit scared of the fact that we have techniques that look like wrestling techniques. And if they threw wrestling out, they'd throw judo out too. That's my own opinion now. And as it turns out, the entire world rose up and said, you're not throwing wrestling out of the Olympics. It's what Hercules did in the first Olympics, so it's going to stay in. You know, the Olympic Committee, the IOC, was slapped right across the mouth with that one. So my thinking is, we need to get our techniques back, okay? I don't see any reason for this grabbing below the belt not to be valid. The first time I won the national championship was with a hand reap, so I'm biased. I mean, to me, hand reaps are like foot sweeps. They're well worth and good. But the other thing that bothers me about it is, for years and years and years, when a wrestler was finished with his college days wrestling, he would come to judo. There were 7 techniques that we have Japanese names for that the wrestlers did. An ankle pick is kibisu gaishi. A fireman's is kataguruma. A double leg is morote gari. So all these techniques that we do in judo, they did in wrestling. So our guys would come in, they'd have a little bit of time learning how to fall, and then we'd release them into our tournaments, and they'd usually do well. Wrestlers don't come to judo anymore. They go to jiu-jitsu classes. And in other countries, maybe it doesn't affect them very much, but in the United States, it's killing judo.
All right, thank you, Martin. I
My
can't
pleasure.
wait to come and practice with all of your players.
Well, that's fine. We're happy to have you.
This is Judoka Girl signing out. Sayonara.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Judoka Girl. Ah, dang it.
So essentially, oh, I thought that was the question.
I'm making sure
I
I'm
could tell
saying
what the
it
question
right
was.
for
All
the
right, go ahead,
question.
go ahead.
Hi, I'm Judoka Girl, and I'm here with
Dr.
Dr. Martin
Bregman.
Bregman, a 50-year-old.
Year-old.
I wish. Give me 5.
Okay, very nice.
You did a good job.
Thanks.